Guys, we start with the next unit, that is system software and importance, the sixth unit. So as we all know, there are two types of software mainly present, that is system software and application software. So system software includes the programs that are dedicated to managing the computer itself, such as operating system, file management utilities, disk operating system, and even system software is a software that provides platform to other softwares. Some examples are operating system, antivirus software, disk formatting software, computer language translator, etc. Now these are commonly prepared by the computer manufacturers. These software consists of programs written in low level languages. Okay, so what we know, what different types of languages are. Now these languages are used to interact with the hardware at a very basic level. That means maybe it is in the machine level language or a assembly level language. Now system software serves as the interface between hardware and the end user. Now what are the main features of system software? First is a closeness to the system. That is, it is very close to the system, right? Second is it is very fast in speed. Third is it is difficult to manipulate. We cannot manipulate it because we don't know syntaxes and semantics of the system software at all. So it is difficult to understand, so it is difficult to manipulate. The fourth one is it is written in low level language, and fifth one is it is difficult to design. So these are the basic features of system software. Please note it down. The first important feature of system software is closeness to the system. Second is a fast speed. Third is difficult to manipulate. Fourth one is written in low level language, and fifth is difficult to design. Now most importantly, whenever we talk about system software, indirectly we are talking about an operating system. So, and because an operating system is a type of system software that manages computer hardware and software resources. So the management of hardware and resources, software resources, hardware and software resources is done by a system software, and that is called as an operating system. So what does operating system do? It provides common services for computer programs. And OS acts as a link between software and hardware both. It controls and keeps a record of execution of all other programs that are present inside the computer. That is, it records the execution of all the programs, including application program and other system software as well. So we know what important tasks of an operating system are. It does memory management, a processor management, a file management, a scheduling, deadlock handling, error detecting, security, etc. Now some of the, other than operating system, there are some of the important system software. Those are compilers, interpreters, assemblers, etc. Right? So what exactly these do? We are going into the details of assembler, loaders, linkers, etc. But before that, we have to brush up some of the concepts from the TOC and some of the basic knowledge about a language processors. Because when we talk about assemblers, compilers or interpreters, there is program written in one language, those we have to convert so that it is understandable by the machine. Right? So first of all, we should know what language processor is. So before going into that language processor, let us start with the introduction. I will just brush it up. So the programmer or the developer is the designer, software designer is writing a program. So in this case, the designer is describing that particular thing. So there are two concepts. One is written by the software developer or the designer, and other is understandable by the computer system. So the software designer is going to describe the program in the form of ideas concerning the behavior of a software, and the second part is the manner in which these ideas are implemented in a computer system. So both ideas or the both behaviors are the different one. Okay, so language processing activities arise due to the difference between these two manners. So based on that, there are two types of domains. The designer expresses the idea in terms related to application domain. So what application domain is? It is a mechanism used within common language infrastructure to isolate executed software application from one another. Now it is a virtual process, okay, and is used to isolate applications from different applications from one another, and this is done so that they cannot affect each other. So this is what an application domain is. Now second part is to implement these ideas. Now their description has to be interpreted in terms of execution domain. So what execution domain is? Application must maintain, execution domain is described by an application must maintain separate execution domain for each execution process. So separate address spaces are provided to each of the process. That is called as execution domain. So application domain in which overall virtual space is provided to that application, within that different separate processes are written so that those cannot affect each other. That is application domain. And execution domain is what? For execution, the separate address spaces are assigned, and those can be executed separately. That is called as execution domain. So there is a gap between these two domains, and that is called as semantic gap. That means it is basically the gap between understanding of application manner and an execution manner. Okay, so in between these two domains, one more domain is there which helps to write something, that is a program we call. So that is called as a programming language domain. So again there is a gap between, so it fits between application domain and execution domain. So there is a gap between application domain and programming language domain, that is the specification gap. How it is specified? That is it is possible that same application can be written in two different programs, so this it can be specified in two different ways. So that is what a specification gap is. And what execution gap is? Whatever a program is written in particular programming language and how it is executed, so that is called as the gap between these two is execution gap. So it is given in the form of definition. What is specification gap? It is a semantic gap between two specification of same task. That means same task, same program is written in two different types of languages, programming languages, that is two specifications are used. So whatever semantic gap between these two, that is specification gap. And second is execution gap. It is the gap between semantics of program written in different programming language. Okay, so this is what the semantic gap and specification gap and execution gap. Now next is, what is a language processor? It is a software it is a system software which bridges a gap between specification and execution. So there is a gap between these two, how it is specified and how it is executed. So bridge the gap between these two, a language processors are used. So what will be the input to that language processor? A program written, and output will be a target program. Now why there is a difference between input program and target program? So we'll see later, because the programmer is writing a program in its own language which is very similar to its own understanding. And after that, at the time of execution, system is willing to accept a program which will be understandable by the machine itself. So that will be a target program, and the program written in programming language, that will be my input program. So in between these two, a language processor lies. The language in which these programs are written are also called as source language or a target language, the language in which it is written. Okay, so what types of language processors are available? Based on what type of translation or what type of gap we are bridging, there are 4 types of language processor: language translator, pre-translator, preprocessor, and language migrator. So what language translator do? It bridges a gap between execution gap to a machine language. That means whatever program is provided, that is translated into machine language or assembly level language. So example is assembler and compiler. So we are going into the details of assembler and compiler. Those are language translator, that is, it translates. Total execution gap is bridged or it totally avoided. That is, whatever program is written in any of the language, that is totally translated into machine language. The total semantic execution gap is totally removed. And second language processor is retranslator. It bridges the same execution gap as a language translator, but in the reverse direction. That is, from assembly language to, maybe from assembly language or machine language to the higher level language. Okay, so this is just an opposite to each other. Now what is preprocessor? The next type of language processor. It is a language processor which bridges an execution gap but is not a language translator. For example, suppose I have written program in C++, I have written a program in C. Okay, so there is a difference between executions of C++ and C. So that is the execution gap between C++ and C program. Okay, so we are not translating exactly C language or C++ language in machine understandable language code, but we are just finding out the execution gap between these two. That is a preprocessor. Now a language migrator, it bridges a gap between a specification gap between two programming languages. So what exactly preprocessor and translator will do? Just find out the difference between these two. So what C++ preprocessor will do? My input program will be C++ program and my target program will be C program. If any error, it will show. Now what translator will do? If I provide C++ program as an input program, my target program will be machine language program. So in general, the preprocessor, so language processors, any of the language processor, maybe it is a preprocessor or a translator, it accepts an input program and it gives us some target program. So what exactly preprocessors are doing? These are just giving bridging an execution gap between two programming languages. So here, if I am using C++ preprocessor, my input program will be C++ program and my output program will be C program. If I am using C++ translator and I am providing C++ program, then my output program will be machine language program. I hope now you got the difference between preprocessor and a translator. Now next, we all know what interpreter is. It is a language processor. Again, interpreter is a language processor which bridges an execution gap without generating a machine language. So here, translator, it translates it bridges the execution gap by generating a machine level language, but interpreter is just interpreting. It is a language translator according to classification, but exactly machine level language program is not generated. Okay, but still it is bridging the execution gap. So application domain and then the programming language domain and execution domain togetherly combined under an interpreter domain. So what different activities are there in language processing? Program generation and program execution. So program generation deals with program specifications are given to the generator and programming target program language is written. So program execution specification gap. No, it is not that much important how program execution is done. So source program is given, translator translates into the machine language program and then data is taken to execute it and the target program is given, right? So how program execution is done, that is important. In interpretation, the interpreter interprets it, that is in the form of it just avoids the execution gap and but exactly it is not generating a machine language program, but it generates a source program plus data. And in program execution, what happens? Interpreter just interprets it, but it's not going to execute it, right? But with the interpretation, program execution should be added, right? So that is generating a program language machine language program and then execution. So what are the fundamentals of language processing? Language processing is nothing but analysis of synthesis program and analysis and a synthesis of source program. Okay, source program, and this is a target program. So analysis of source program and synthesis of target program. So analysis phase deals with analysis of synthesis program and synthesis deals with synthesis of target program. So there is a difference between source program and a target program. So analysis, I hope in TOC you have covered what different syntax rules, semantic rules and lexical analysis is. So here these are the different phases given. So analysis phase deals with synthesis phase deals with, so language processing deals with the analysis phase and synthesis phase. A source program is given to analysis phase, then it is given to synthesis phase and then a target program. So what exactly? There are three types of analysis: lexical analysis, then semantic analysis, syntaxic analysis and semantic analysis. So what is done in lexical analysis? So the tokens are generated, whatever the language is, every statement is transferred in the form of a table, token table, that is in this forms for I integer, a b real and a is equal to b plus I. So for every entry inside a statement there is a separate entry maintained inside a table. So table is generated. So how it is done? So the first symbol will be I, the type integer in the form of symbol, type, length, address, the names are there. So I is symbol, type integer, A is real, B is real, then A is equal to B plus I supposed to do. So B plus I का जो भी value है पहले temp में जाएगा, right? So temp is one more variable at the background, so that should be there inside a symbol table. Now I जो integer value है उसको मुझे क्या करना है, I first needed to be converted into real, so that's why I star, that is mentioned as the fourth entry inside the table, because A is real, B is real, so whatever I value integer is, first of all those that should be converted into I a real value. So how the statement is written here, how it is divided into IDs and opcodes. So ID is equal to 2. Now A is equal to B plus 2. The statement is A is equal to B plus I, right? So A is what? The second symbol. So ID 2, operation 5. So equal to is the operation 5, and is equal to of 5 is equal to, of 5 is equal to sign. ID 3 is B. So the first column inside the table gives me ID number. So ID 3. So A equal to ID 2 is A, of 5 is equal to sign, ID 3 is B, then op 3 is again plus sign, that is operation 3, then ID 1 is I, but for that I, what I supposed to do, I have to convert that I into real. So for that the operation is 10. So in this way a string of tokens is maintained and the respective table entries are done in lexical analysis phase. The second is syntax analysis, in which the parsing is done. I hope you know how the parsing is done, that is done in a TOC. So this way A, B are real, so real A, B, then A is equal to B plus I, A is equal to B plus I. This way the parsing tree is generated, and after that the semantic analysis is done, in which the other tables are maintained. So in short, analysis phase deals with three parts: scanning, that is done by lexical analyzer, parsing done by syntax analyzer, and semantic analysis is done by semantic analyzer. The source program is first given for scanning. A symbol table is generated. The tokens are generated, string tokens are generated. Then after scanning, the tokens are given to the syntax analysis phase, and that is a parsing trees are maintained, a constant tables are maintained. So whatever leaves of every parsing tree, that is maintained as a constant values. Then next is the parsing tree is given to the semantic analysis, and other tables are maintained, and then it is given for a instruction register. Now next phase is synthesis phase, in which memory allocation to each of the symbol is done. The first are there in synthesis phase. Two tasks are generated, two tasks are performed, that is memory allocation and code generation. So memory allocation means whatever the identifiers are computed from its type, length, and dimensionality or different things. A symbol, that is type and length, these three are already done in lexical analysis. So address space is added into it. So memory is allocated to each of the symbol, and the address of memory is entered inside that symbol table. So symbol table maintenance is important there, and based on that the code is generated. For code generation, respective codes, operation codes are identified. That is, it uses a knowledge of target architecture, that is knowledge of instructions, addressing modes, etc. So we have already discussed in last year what different addressing modes and what different machine language instructions are. So whatever the symbol table entries are, or whatever the constant table entries, or whatever the previous phase outputs are, based on that the machine language code or the assembly language code is maintained, in which machine registers are used. So here convert R A register I, address R A register B. So these are some machine level language or assembly level language. So what exactly done at the background in synthesis phase? The first step is memory allocation, that is done inside a symbol table, and based on that, based on all the table entries, it generates a code, and that will be my target program. So language specification, it deals with the programming language, grammars, the formal language, so how it is handled, everything is done in string, non-terminal symbols. These are the parts from TOC. Just go through it, and we'll start with the assembler. So how derivation is done, I think these all sentential forms, grammar, reduction, parsing trees, all are done. Classification or grammar, ambiguity in grammar, everything is done in your TOC. So just go through it and revise it. We start with the assembler. So this is about the basics of system software and importance. What is need, what is language processor, what different language processors are, what different system softwares are, what assembler, where assembler can start, where loaders can lie, and where microprocessors will fit. We'll see in next lectures. Okay, by the time just go through TOC syllabus and whatever points mentioned here, but I have not explained because you all know them. So just go through it. Okay.